we're going to be talking about some of the most controversial topics known to man involving Colorado Springs. But we're going to be doing a little bit of myth busting because the people in the comments, they just get wild and they get so angry and they tell us about all these things. And so we're not going to like inundate you with facts and statistics and numbers. We just want to tell you from a first person experience, Kyle Pettit and Sam Loving, who's here with me, we're going to tell you what the experience has been like for us for the 4 most controversial topics. Let's get into the first one.
Yeah.
Because people don't care about anything else except they want to hear what they got to hear. And number 1, which I think is the most controversial, and it's the hardest one, especially as licensed realtors, unfortunately, to talk about, is homelessness.
Yep, 100%. So we're here in the heart of downtown, kind of right on the edge of Monument Valley Park right now. And I mean, frankly, to be 100% honest, we don't steer, right? Steering's a big no-no. We're not telling you where to live, where to not live, but we are going to tell you that the majority of our homeless population exists around the urban centers, right? And one of those is downtown.
Yeah, we have to talk about it because that is like the most common thing. When we do YouTube videos that are like 5 reasons that the Springs is growing too fast or worse things about the Springs, somebody inevitably, always in the comments, talks about the homelessness. They're like, the homelessness is out of control.
Yes, always.
But is it out of control?
Okay, so personally, in my experience, I do not believe that the homelessness is out of control. I've been to a lot of other places in the country and seen some really destitute and bad situations, and my personal experience here in the Springs is that it is not out of control.
No, I would agree. Now, there are places where there are definitely higher density of homelessness. In fact, true story, we got out of our car and walked across the street, and I would use the word verbally assaulted by a homeless person walking by. Like, he didn't approach us, he didn't do anything, but he was just walking by very angry, yelling obscenities at us that hopefully will not get recorded on camera. But like, that does, I guess that's actually the one time that maybe the second time ever in my life that's happened here.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, can you spare some cash for me, man?
I don't have any
I don't have cash, man, sorry. Yeah, so, like, personally, I've never had any issues walking downtown, going to shops and restaurants and things like that downtown. Like, the homeless population, it is here, it does exist, but I would not consider it to be out of control or to be a major issue. It's here and it exists. And here's the thing, it exists everywhere.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it's like, depending on the source, it's 1,300 or 1,400 people experiencing homelessness is how it's said on the internet, right? Yeah. And to be honest, the overwhelming majority, like we said, is in this downtown area. But even that has to be more classified, right? Because like, if you go over to Tejon in Nevada, where like all the boutique shops are and all the little restaurants and the local eateries, and you work your way all the way down towards like Fat Sully's and like that whole strip, like, sure, you'll pass a couple homeless people, but like, it is not where it's like inundated, where it's like where you feel uncomfortable walking down the street. And I feel fine saying that. Like, we're right on like the Riverwalk here.
Yeah.
And there is a huge path, and it's like goes all the way north and all the way south. And this is, in honesty, the most frustrating thing is that, like, I would not use this by myself. I would not walk down this Riverwalk by myself, especially at night. Now, during the day, maybe, but I'm also 6'1" and 210 pounds, right? Yeah. It's a little bit different because you have a lot of homeless encampments up and down this river. You'll see tents by the river. You'll see people in the parks, which unfortunately then creates like a bunch of trash in the parks, which is super frustrating. But it's just the reality. Whereas the other places would be like
OCC.
Old Colorado City for sure. And that's like more on the main boardwalk area.
Yeah.
Boardwalk?
Yeah.
We're not at the beach. But it's like the main strip there. What is it, Colorado Avenue?
Yeah. Kind of around that Bancroft Park area.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a bit more around there too. But like, I've been there, and there might be a guy on this corner of the street, talking to himself or talking to a 2x4. But like, I've never really been bothered. We just go about our business, and the reason we're doing this video is because it's like so hard to like beat around the bush, but like tell the truth, but like you just ignore it and you go about your day. Yeah. That is what I do.
Yep.
And then the other major areas over by Ivy Wild, like in that area, specifically by the bridge. But that being said, like, I know Francis lives in Old Colorado City.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep.
I know other people that live in Ivywild. Some of my best friends live in Ivywild.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And they love it.
And there's other people that live downtown, and it's fine. But the homelessness is real.
It is real.
It is a real thing.
It exists. It's centered around 3-4 like very specific areas.
Yeah. Well,
and that's just the reality.
Because you live off of what?
I live off Fillmore and Union.
Are there homeless? Is there like a bunch of homeless walking around?
Every now and then you'll see some people, but it's not very common.
No, not very common at all. And as you go north, and you're like in Briargate or Northgate or up around the Air Force Academy, like zero. Rockrimmon, I don't think so.
Here's a really important point is noting that like the services don't exist up there.
Yeah.
Right? This is where services for a lot of those people exist, which is why you will see a lot of homeless people around these areas, is because it's actually close to the service.
Yeah, so the Springs Rescue Mission is right in the downtown area, and that has actually there's been a ton of money put into it, and it's expanded it. And so I was looking this up, and like statistics are statistics, right? So like they're flexible. But it has said that in the last 5 to 7 years that homelessness has actually gone down a little bit in the Springs, whereas in like Denver, not stabilized. No. It is increasing. I have felt legitimately unsafe in Denver more times than I can count, which is also why I don't ever go to Denver. So that is, I don't think we need to like beat the dead horse, but like that is in Colorado Springs. Sure, it is generally speaking centered more in the downtown area, old Colorado City. Sure. Yeah. But that being said, it is like minuscule compared to some of like the larger cities. 100%. And Colorado Springs does put a lot of effort into controlling it, which I don't know anything about, and I don't know those topics, so don't ask.
They put a lot of effort and a lot of money into services to be able to help those people out. And again, we're not telling you where to live. We're not telling you where you shouldn't live. We're just telling you the truth and the reality of what exists here. And for me personally, it's never been a major issue. That's just my opinion.
Now, the second topic, this one is pretty personal, and we've had specific questions, and it's always a really hard one to answer. So let's go do it.
Yeah. We get a lot of questions on this. I personally get a lot of questions on this because it is an important topic to people, and that is the treatment of minorities in Colorado Springs and at large in Colorado. If you didn't notice, I'm a minority. Let's just get it out there, right? Here's the thing. I don't want to get into stats or anything like that. I just want to share my personal experience. And I've lived here actually right at 18 years now. I have a very, very hard time coming up with a time or an instance or anything like that where I've personally felt either unsafe because I'm a minority, personally felt attacked because I'm a minority. And I mean, let's just, kind of get right into like the meat of it. I mean, there's a lot less minorities here than there are in a lot of other larger cities or even similar sized cities. But the thing is, especially as time goes on and our city grows and there's more culture and development and things brought to those cities, I've never felt like totally unrepresented here or totally unwelcome here or anything like that personally.
Yeah, the only times you felt like unsafe or like attacked is just because I didn't like you. It's not because you're black.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't like you.
This guy. No, I mean, honestly, like I've never felt out of place here. And again, it's such a subjective thing. It's such a personal thing. There are people out there who have those stories, but that is just my personal story, my personal experience.
Well, I think we need to address why this is such a hot topic here, why specifically, when I lived in other places, people didn't ask me like, what was the treatment like for minorities or anything like that. Like,
right.
But here, the reason that question exists is once upon a time, I was on a flight to I don't even know where, and I watched a movie called The Black Klansman. And I thought that The Black Klansman was just a comedy. Yeah. I was like, oh.
You thought it was just a movie?
I thought it was just going to be like some movie that was like a comedy, and it was going to be like really racy, no pun intended, and like really borderline, and I was like kind of fringe. This might be really funny. And then I was like, oh, and it was like Colorado Springs, 1980s or
1970s, like
70s?
mid 70s.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, and then I realized it like wasn't a comedy, and it was actually like what was going on back then.
Yeah.
And so the reason that this question comes up a lot, we actually had a client that called us a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, and was asking Sam these exact questions, was probably because of stuff like that. Like historically, like Colorado Springs was hyper conservative and hyper, and honestly really pretty freaking racist. Like there was a lot of racism here. And so the question was like, is it still like that? You know, this woman is black and she was moving out here, and she's like, are my kids going to be okay at high school? Is it going to be okay for us and our family? And we were like, it didn't even register, because like I've never seen anything or experience. Okay. Also, if you didn't notice, I'm white. So maybe you might be thinking, well, Kyle, your opinion doesn't matter. That may be true. But I can also just tell you my experience. Like I grew up in St. Louis, where my high school was like 50-50, like whites and blacks, you know, like, and so, but when I moved here, I definitely didn't think like, oh my God, there's no black people here. This is crazy.
Right.
And sure, it's not the same population density, I guess, as like St. Louis, but I also lived in Utah. And it's the exact opposite.
Yes.
And I feel like I had a lot of friends out there in university, like that were college athletes, they were also black, that like talked about where they did feel like they stood out a lot more than like my friends here that are black. There's like, you're just another person just hanging out.
Yeah.
So those policies and like that old stuff that existed back in the day, I don't think is a thing at all.
I would personally say largely all that's gone. Again, it's subjective. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has a different opinion.
Yeah.
But these are just our personal opinions and our personal observations. And for me, like I said, I've never felt unsafe. I've never felt unwelcome. I've just never felt any type of way about it.
Okay, and so that is like the one big like elephant in the room, right? Is race. Whites, blacks, you know, Hispanics, Asians, whatever. Like, we're all here.
Yeah.
Nobody freaking cares. Literally, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so then the other big topic here in today's day and age is, what about the LGBTQ community?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because that same question came up, and it was funny because I actually brought that up as like a way to be like, let me tell you about Colorado Springs. Like, I don't know if you can really see it in the video behind us, so maybe our editor will get us some like great B-roll, but like we're in the downtown area right now, and from where I am standing, I can see like 5 pride flags.
Yeah.
There's and
to be fair, this is like kind of the cultural, you know, kind of hub of the city.
But that's important, right? That's an important note, is that like we are in the cultural hub of the city, and there's pride flags everywhere.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have, Colorado Springs does have a pride thing in like July.
I think so. Yeah.
But why don't I know? Because I don't go to it. I don't really care. But like, it's not, I would say my experience with it here versus like Austin, I was in Austin during Pride, like everything is shut down. You can't go anywhere, and it kind of like disrupts just normal life. It's a little, to me, it was just like, I just want to like go do some stuff.
Yeah.
But here it's like, it's a thing that's acknowledged. My climbing gym, City Rock, they have like, it's like on a banner in their store that they have like an LGBTQ like friendly climb night, right? And I think the city and a lot of the businesses around here do put in extra effort to make sure that people feel welcomed and accepted, and like, generally speaking, like, again, I'm not black and I'm also not gay. And so like, does my opinion really matter? I don't know. I can just tell you my experience is that like, nobody cares. It is fine. It is we talk about Colorado Springs being purple all the time.
Yeah.
And like, and Francis actually a couple weeks ago in a video was talking about how like, he was like, you can kind of just be and do what you want to be and do here.
Yeah.
And you don't feel overpressured either way. Do you agree?
I would agree with that. I mean, largely, just on a general basis, I feel like Colorado Springs is a very accepting and welcoming place, honestly.
Yeah. So, one final note on that. Our mayor is not white.
No.
We did it. All right. Thank you for sticking through the first two, but this third one, we're going to just zoom through this one because we've kind of already addressed it really in the last one, but there's still a couple points that we have to get in there. So if you found value or if you just appreciate that we've been sharing as honest opinions as we can, please just hit the like button for us because it is kind of hard to do this, controversial topics.
Yeah.
But let's just hit this one real quick. Number 3, is Colorado Springs ultra hyper conservative? No. That's the short answer. It's not.
No.
And why do we even have to address that? Well, we got a comment once upon a time, actually multiple times upon the time, that said, well, Colorado Springs is the evangelical capital of the United States. And I just my jaw hit the ground when I saw that.
Yeah.
Because it's not. Are there churches here? Yes. In fact, we're standing in front of a beautiful church that is downtown. Was the city's founder? What you know about the city's founder?
Yep, he was a Quaker, staunch prohibitionist.
Sure,
you know.
So the history here, and we talked about the movie the Black Klansman, right? There was some not great history, and maybe historically Colorado Springs actually was along the Front Range. There was a nickname for it, but I forgot what it was. But it was basically it was known as the conservative center of the West, right?
Yeah.
Sure. That is not the case anymore. No. But it is also not the case that it has swung so far the other direction that it's unbelievable either.
No.
In fact, it's why we just say that it's kind of very middle of the road and it's purpley.
Yep. No, I mean, seriously, at one point, I know there were over 200 Christian organizations headquartered here. I mean, we have some massive organizations still headquartered here. But they just exist. Again, this is personal opinion. I'm not sitting here stating fact and this is, the end all be all for everyone. But I feel like Colorado Springs is very middle of the road. Yes, those things exist here, but I've seen all walks of life here, all sorts of belief systems here. And it's not really a thing at the end of the day. I really personally feel like you can be who you want to be here, do what you want to do, and that's the gist.
Yeah, I think okay, this is actually a really easy way to understand it is what was it like during COVID, right? That's a really easy gauge of how left or how right you are. And generally speaking, up in Denver, which everybody knows is very blue, and Boulder and Golden is very, very, very blue. It was super, super intense restrictions during COVID. That's just, it is what it is. Manitou Springs actually had mask mandates as a city way after Colorado Springs let those up. But Colorado Springs was hey, Sam, it's your business. If you want to require people to do that in your business, go right ahead.
Yeah.
If you don't, go right ahead.
I think there was a small period of time where
there was
required for sure.
There was that the entire country had it required, but Colorado Springs as a whole left it up way, way earlier. Because I was living in New Mexico during a large portion of that, where the whole state it was everywhere, gas station, grocery store, gym, whatever. It was you still had to. And I remember coming up to visit Colorado Springs, and it was just masks are recommended, but you could go in if you wanted to or if you didn't. I think that's a great example of Colorado Springs was hey, you're the business owner. You make your own decision about this. And I personally, I freaking love that. I think that's great. Generally as a city, it is just very hands off. We have an independent mayor. Love him or hate him, who cares? But it's just here you really have this ability to just be whatever it is, and you don't feel this overwhelming sway left or right. It is just being. But the fourth topic, now this is kind of funny. The fourth topic, thank you for waiting around for this one, because this one actually is it's what Colorado is very well known for.
Yes.
But there's a lot of misconceptions about it, especially in Colorado Springs. And this one actually I think is probably the most surprising misconception.
Yeah.
So we're going to head down to Manitou Springs, where we can actually get to a place that will just better show it. So let's go over there. We'll hit this last topic and maybe bust some myths. Bust some myths. What? Okay, before we get to the very last topic, thank you so much for watching the channel. Thanks for watching the video. we are Colorado realtors, and we're also, I hope you realize from this video that we're trying to tell you the truth, and we will always try to tell you as much truth as we can. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're just going to tell it to you straight. So if you are considering a move to Colorado Springs and you've gotten over these controversial topics that we've addressed so far, then please feel free to reach out to us. Hello. Our information is down below, our phone number or our email. Happy to work with you guys. We do it all the time. We are the kings of Colorado Springs. We're to eat, work, live, sleep, breathe, drink, smell, lay down, roll over, do all of those things. Reach out. We'll chat with you guys soon. Let's go talk about the final topic of this video, and you're going to want to see this one.
Topic number 4, obviously, it's weed. And here's the thing. We were driving kind of down like the main strip here into Manitou, or one of the main strips into Manitou. And what a lot of people don't realize, I mean, this is one of the most controversial topics. It's what Colorado is so well known for is weed. But in the Springs, it's only medicinal, right? In Manitou, as soon as you cross over into that border there, it becomes legal recreationally.
Well, it's not that it's not legal recreationally in Colorado Springs, but you can't sell it recreationally.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So in Colorado Springs proper, you have to have a doctor's note, a medicine card, or whatever. And so you can go in and you can do it there. Also, by the way, those are super freaking easy to get. But when you come to Manitou, it's like tons of recreational stores of all different styles. So you've got Dr. Ross right here behind us. You've got Emerald Fields, like right down the street. There's like 3 or 4 more. So that is a very confusing thing. It was on the docket for this last voting session too. I thought for sure Colorado Springs was going to just like make it recreationally available. To be honest, I don't know why it's not. It's like this last holdout of not making it recreational marijuana, but whatever.
Frankly, I think there's actually this totally just like an opinion. But I think it's actually a push now from Manitou to not let it be recreational in Colorado Springs, because there is a lot of tax money associated with that.
That Manitou gets that Colorado Springs doesn't, because obviously most people come here. And interestingly enough, like every county or city can like set their own tax rates for it. So just as a total aside, when you're like going up to Breckenridge, for example, you'll be passing through like Alma and Fairplay, and it'll say like, it'll show you on like some of the billboards or whatever, that it's like the excise tax on marijuana in Fairplay is like here, whereas in Breckenridge is here. So they're like, you might as well just buy it here. Anyway, but why are we talking about weed? Because it's a reality in Colorado.
It is.
But like, what is it really like?
Yeah, I mean, personally, never had an issue with it. I've never had an issue being around it. Is it something that you notice?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
It's something that you notice. I don't know. I guess I've personally just lived here long enough, and maybe you have a different opinion being here a little bit less longer. I've personally lived here long enough that it's kind of just a non-factor for me at this point.
What's funny is I think it's like a real big factor when you're just not used to it. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. But then like, you just kind of are like, oh, like it's like neat and crazy, or people come to visit. And I mean, it's actually more legal in like almost every state now. So like it's less of a novelty, but so it's like less exciting.
Way to put it.
So it's like less exciting when people come out, but like still people come visit, or people are, or that they're moving here and it's like their first experience and they're like, oh my gosh, like I noticed. And I do notice when like it's really bad when I like walk by somebody that is smoking outside. Okay, sure. But like, it is not like, it's not an overwhelming, like ruining my day or ruining my walk down the street. It's just, you just notice it for a little bit and you're like, and maybe it smells not that great to you. You're like, it's a little skunky smell. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I live over in the Fillmore Union part of town, like I mentioned. There's a bunch of, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a bunch of medicinal shops that line that corridor, and a bunch of actual groweries that exist in that area.
I did not know that.
A lot of old warehouses got taken over for the actual groweries for those medicinal shops and things. I notice it every time I drive through there. I smell it. but it's kind of like, whatever. Like, it's there and then it's gone. So for me personally, just really honestly kind of a non-factor at the end of the day. I don't think it's much of an issue.
I don't think it may, and like, what other ways would it affect besides just smells? Like, maybe you smell a little bit more at concerts.
Yeah.
And is it like, does it
what
feel
concert have you been to in the modern era?
Yeah, seriously.
In any place on planet Earth that you don't smell it?
Well, and then it's like, do you really feel like when you go out and you're getting services like waiters and waitresses or drivers or anything like that? I mean, have I noticed it with like waiters before where I was like,
Yeah.
sus.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. And then I don't feel like the driving is heavily influenced by it or whatever.
No.
I could be wrong, but I don't know.
I would put it this way. I don't think we live in a state of like Cheech and Chong's. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's funny because again, we get comments that like we've seen plenty of comments that are like, I can't believe people go out there. People actually ask us all the time. They're like, are you guys high as hell in that video? And we're like, what? No. What are you talking about? And it's just like the novelty for most people in Colorado is like, and some people, it's like, it's a great part of their life. And like, who cares? Again, who cares? So if Colorado Springs is a place that you just want to like, do it if you want or not do it if you want to, that's awesome. You can have that choice here. And if that is a choice that you want to make to move out here, we have the best playlist of videos of neighborhoods, because it's like you want to know about Colorado Springs, but now you need to see it, right? Because it's different when you decide to move here. So we have a playlist of the absolute best neighborhood tours that we're continually updating, continually working. Our master videographers are always getting killer footage of it. So click on that playlist. When you figure out, or if you're trying to figure out where you're going to move, let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.